Right. First of all, thank you so much for accepting this interview.
My pleasure.
I would like to start by saying that in previous interviews, you mentioned that you came up with the idea for this last novel, My Friends, a long time ago. And so I wanted to ask you, what was it like to have a novel in your head for so many years?
It's an antidote to madness because you have these images, almost like slides, a scene, a particular moment, one character sometimes says something, you don't know who they're saying it to, and you're recording all of that. I don't mean to make it sound mysterious, it's not mysterious. You sort of have a preoccupation with a certain way of being in the world that you want to get to. And you're trying to figure out how to get to it. But of course, it's an antidote to madness because for a long time you think maybe I'm just imagining this and I'm crazy and it's not going to work. And so when it does work at the end, it's very consoling. I mean, there are two questions in there. The first one is to do with the relationship of one's personal life and the fiction, right? And that's very difficult. Such a good question because it's very difficult to answer that. I can't account for it. But I also know that if somebody sits and writes a book about a dog on the moon, it would also be out of their personal life in some way. So that division is less obvious to me, and the more I write, the less obvious it becomes. I don't like the word authorized because then it makes it seem like you suddenly become an authority and you have a license to do what you want, and it doesn't feel that way. It feels much more that you are investing into a certain imaginative gesture that strangely, given that you're doing it alone, you're in a room alone, you're writing, when the book comes out it's got your name on it, it's obviously you doing it. But it feels much more communal. And I think the reason it feels communal is because everything that has made you has been contributed to by everybody that you've known, every day that you've lived. But also as a writer, you're writing within and out of a symphony of literary output. You are not really writing alone. You have all of literature, or the literature that has meant something to you, or the writers that you've read closely, with you in some way, in some maybe ambiguous way, but real way, I think. Because when I started, before I wrote a book, I thought, when I was reading and thinking, how was this put together? How did Virginia Woolf write To the Lighthouse? And all along I thought, in that case, the authority on the text is Virginia Woolf. In other words, Virginia Woolf commanded the material and then wrote it, But then when I started to write, I found it's not like that at all. At least for me, it's not like that at all. In fact, the paradox is that you start writing not when you have the words. You start writing exactly when you don't have the words. And when the feeling has, or the state that you're trying to write about has matured so much in your mind and in your heart that you have to find the words for it. So writing for me is the process of finding the right words for something that is unsayable, So, and that's always fascinated me about literature, because I think literature is an attempt to say the unsayable. I can tell you that I hope that nothing is left out. But I also hope that everything is left out. And what I mean by that is that I hope that everything that I am that is of relevance to others. I'm not interested in writing about an essential experience that no one else has experienced. What I'm interested in is using everything I know to touch the things that we all share, but have come to in a different way, Because you see, I think part of me believes that the specific features of our life, as important as they are superficial. I think what's really important is where those features lead us to, the emotions and ideas and psychic life that it leads us to. Those are connected. And I think the proof of this is that my book wouldn't have meant anything to you if you and I didn't have so much in common. The books that I've read that I have meant so much to me are written by people that cannot be more different from me, you know. But it turns out we're actually quite similar. Yeah.